I just got back from Fort Collins Comic Con, which is a lovely little show in northern Colorado. It is held in August at the Fort Collins Senior Center, and it's a weird little show, but it's a good show, and I like doing it. The reason it's a weird little show is because of the layout of the building. Fort Collins splits up their vendors into 2 separate rooms. Last year, I was in the gym area, which was not ideal. I don't like that room at all. This year, I was in kind of like a ballroom meeting room space. I'm not sure what it's used for otherwise. The one problem with that room is it gets incredibly hot. There's just no air circulation. The HVAC system in the building is garbage. And fortunately, we had these battery-powered fans that we kind of set up in our little area, and they kept us cool all weekend. It worked great. I was really relieved about that. I also was able to sit with some of my lovely friends for the weekend. We had a little quadrant of 4 tables, and the booths were all very close together. So I'm happy that I was able to be amongst friends, being that close with them for the whole weekend. Anyway, so Fort Collins Comic Con is a small show, but regardless of that, I still did really well. I made this pie chart to show y'all to talk about my percentages. With a big fat 72% is my net sales percentage, which honestly I'm kind of impressed with, all things considered. Followed by that, at 11.1%, was the table cost. The tables are 6 feet. They come with 2 badges for the weekend for you and a helper, and the show was Saturday and Sunday. There's nothing on Friday. Very close together at 6%, we have my sales tax, and then 5.9% is the amount of tips I received from people. Followed by that, at 2.9%, that was the cost of food. I paid for mine and my dad's lunch both days, so that was just our food costs that I wanted to consider. Finally, at 2.1%, that is the percentage of fees taken up by Square for the various charges I did for sales. Fortunately for me, I was able to keep my costs for the show incredibly low, and I feel that if you are able to drive to Fort Collins, not have to get a hotel room, stay with a friend, something like that, I think it's an incredibly worthwhile show to do. I don't think it's worth it if you have to fly in, get a hotel room, that kind of thing. It might be worth it for some of the guests. I don't know. For me personally, I wouldn't do it. I have found a number of shows like this where the more local you are to the shows, the better you will do. The lower your overhead will be, the lower your cost will be to do the show. Therefore, the more money you'll make, the better you'll do, the more successful you'll be. I wanted to go over my percentages with y'all to explain how I have been able to do really well at shows, even when they're really small. The one caveat I'm going to put in about all this, I want to give y'all tips that I have learned from doing Artist Alley tables for over a decade at this point. I think it was around 2012 when I started with one of my friends. The tips I want to give you are things I have learned that are within your control as an artist and a vendor. Obviously, there's going to be some shows that are just trash and that you can't do anything about that, and that's not on you. That is the responsibility of whoever is organizing the con, wherever the venue is for the con. There can be a lot of factors outside your control. What I want to be able to help people with is to be able to put forth their best possible version of their table and their artwork. Those are the tips I'm going to give you. So let's get into some of the actual do's and don'ts that I have set up for y'all to talk about. I wanted to put together this list of do's and don'ts for setting up to do artist alley tables, vending in spaces, markets, exhibitors, etc. I wanted to write these from the perspective of someone who is neurodivergent and or introverted, which I am both, because it is hard enough to talk to people, and it is even harder to talk to people in a way that presents you as confident and that you have the ability to sell your artwork to people. That's really difficult. I wanted to share some things that have helped me. Basically, talking to people is hard, and I wanted to share some of the things I've learned over the years that have helped me with having to be on during a convention, I guess, is how I would describe it. So let's go through some of the do's. The first do I have is do enable tips on your point of sale system, whether it's Square or something else. I use Square. That's just what I'm familiar with. You will always have some kind of option to enable tips when people are checking out. It's not necessarily on by default. You can look in the settings to find it. Always, always, always enable tips. It doesn't matter how many people are rude to you about it. There will be so many more people who want to be able to tip you to show their appreciation to you as an artist, who might be a little shy or not have cash to want to tip you. There will always be more people who want to tip you and show their appreciation for you as an artist than people who get weird and stingy over tipping. The economy is in shambles. Don't be worried about tipping. Don't just it's fine. Literally at Fort Collins Comic-Con this past weekend, I had the first, I think, ever guy to be weird about tipping to me. I never expect tips from people. It's just there as an option when you swipe your card or tap your card or whatever. And this was the first customer I've ever had that was like,
I'm not gonna tip you. I only tip at cafes and coffee shops.
Or something like that. It was very strange. He kept going on about it. This was over a $5 sale, by the way, for like a sticker. I don't know. It was very strange. With that being said, in all of my years of tabling, I've had very, very few experiences like that. I have had very, very few bad interactions with people, which is great. It is something that has really boosted my confidence level to see people tip you so frequently. One of the other reasons why I highly, highly encourage you to enable tips is because for me, just about every show I do when I enable tips, the amount I get in tips just about will cover my sales tax amount. So as you saw in the pie chart, my sales tax was 6%. My tips percentage was 5.9%. So it just about covers my sales tax. It is a super helpful thing to do. And for me, it is very affirming to see people say, hey, I like your art so much. I appreciate what you're doing. I want to give you a little something extra. It's wonderful. It's great. On that note, I also encourage you to have a tip jar if it's something you're comfortable with, and if it is something that a convention allows. Depending on the rules at conventions, some states you are not allowed to do tip jars. Most conventions will say, if they have a rule against that. I like doing a tip jar. I have one with a picture of my dog on it because my dog is going to get extra treats. People can get really creative with tip jars. A lot of people will do like a versus thing or just advertise like, these are my dumb fur children, please send them to college. I like those ones a lot. Do whatever you're comfortable with, and depending on what the convention allows. Do have a helper if you're able to. Do make friends with your neighbors, and do take breaks as needed. These are all kind of interconnected. I am extremely lucky in that my father loves to help me at conventions. He is a wonderful helper. If you've seen me at a table, 99% of the time my dad is the guy with me. He is a very wonderful, sweet man. Being able to have a helper is so valuable. If you need to take bathroom breaks, if you need to take food breaks, if you are feeling overwhelmed because it's a big social event and you need to take a break, these are all important things to have. I fully understand not everyone has the ability to have a helper at their table. Some conventions don't provide an additional badge, or you have to purchase an extra badge, or they don't allow an extra person behind the table. There's a lot of factors. This is also why it's important to make friends with your table neighbors, people next to you, people behind you, people across from you. So much of tabling is about the community of artists who are sitting behind the tables. It is so helpful to have people in your corner when you're tabling, especially if you're by yourself. Making friends with your neighbors, it is so much easier to have someone to look out for your table if you have to run to the bathroom for a minute or go and get food or whatever. Next, I want to talk about the actual hurdle of being social at your table, how to talk to strangers when it's difficult. Do say hello. Finding something to be an icebreaker can be really difficult with strangers. Fortunately, at conventions and similar events, everyone kind of has the same personality. Everyone is there because they're passionate about whatever fandom they're in. Also, most conventions are full of queer neurodivergent people, just like me, just like you and me. So it is pretty easy to relate to people, pretty easy to find a community at a convention. I'm going to talk about don'ts later, but you really can't sit at your table, head down, ignoring anyone that comes to your table. It's important to be alert, make eye contact with people who come to your table, be social, be welcoming, that kind of thing. It can be hard. One of the easiest things you can do is to just greet people, just say hello. If you feel up to it, you can say hello, let me know if you have any questions, or welcome to my table, this is my art, these are my stickers, they cost such and such and such. One other thing I found that is really helpful if you are needing a conversation starter is to give genuine compliments. And this is pretty much what I do 90% of the time if I want to talk to someone. Giving a genuine compliment, whether it is on a cool t-shirt or like a cosplay you see or something like that, something that someone has put effort into, because when it is coming from a genuine place, the person you're talking to is receiving that, they know it's genuine. It makes people feel really good when you're coming from a genuine place, like, hey, I love your shirt, I also watch Drawfee, etc. It's very easy to make a connection with someone that way and break the ice to invite them to look at your table, look at your artwork. If you are struggling with how to talk to people at your table, if you freeze up and you are anxious and you don't know what to say, I would recommend just greeting people and finding a way to give a genuine compliment. From there, it's a lot easier to have a conversation with someone. I have a few things to talk about regarding display specifically, how you want to set up your table display. And so much of it is dependent on what type of artwork you are selling, whether it's like prints or like 3D goods. It can really vary. There's tons of setups people do with photo stands. I use the interlocking grids. They were metal. I have switched to plastic ones just because they're easier to travel with. There are a lot of options out there. And again, this depends on the type of things you are selling. Do have self-serve products where able. A self-serve product is basically something a customer can physically grab and say, I want to buy this, hand it to you, and you do the transaction, as opposed to them like pointing at a print and saying, I want that one, and then you get it and do the transaction. There's a lot of psychology with selling things. It's very strange. For whatever reason, the moment someone picks up an item for sale, they form an attachment to it. This, I don't know what the principle is called. It's just something that I've learned. And for that reason, self-serve products tend to sell a lot better than ones that the customer can't actually touch. I don't know why this is. It's just something that I've observed. For this reason, my stickers are self-serve. I have them at the very front of my display in little like clear pockets that people can take the stickers out of. I also learned from a friend of mine to have little baskets for people who are buying multiple stickers to put them in. Because again, for whatever reason, the psychology is that, oh, I've got this container, I'm going to fill it up with stuff. And that happens a lot more than you'd think. I offer a basket to someone who might have a handful of stickers, like, hey, if you don't want to hold those, you can put them in this thing. And they say, oh, great. And then they buy a bunch more stickers. I don't know why. That's just, our human brains are weird and we want to grab little things and collect them, I guess. I sell so much more stickers than anything else at my table. That is my priority. They are my best sellers, hands down, no matter what show I'm doing. So as you do conventions, you will likely find something like that of your own art that you're selling, of something that sells well for you, that you want to prioritize to being self-serve in some way. The main thing to note is that self-serve products have a higher risk of theft. I don't know that I want to get into theft necessarily in this video, because I personally, to my knowledge, have never had anything stolen from my table. If something has been stolen from my table, it's been small enough I haven't noticed it, or small enough in cost that it hasn't made a significant impact on me. Obviously, I can't say the same thing for everyone. I've had friends who have had prints, like full prints, fully stolen from their display. So I don't know that I'm the right person to talk about theft at tables. I might talk to some of my friends if I can get a little bit more of their input on this. So let us talk about business cards. Do use business cards. This is something I'm passionate about. I think if you don't want to use business cards, that's totally fine. It's your table. This is just what has worked for me. So this is my business card. The front has the painting of my dog Indy that I did, and the back has one of my little cartoon corgis with my information on it. And I have a blank space up here that is very important. I always have my business cards set up so that I have room to write on them, because I have had a lot of success at conventions with writing my table number on my cards, so that when someone takes a card and wants to find me again, they already have the table number written down, and it makes it a lot easier for them to come back and a lot more likely to find me and actually purchase something. This can also be helpful if you are having a conversation with someone and they're interested in a specific product, they're not sure about it. Oftentimes you'll have people who are walking around a con for the first time, just taking everything in before they purchase stuff. And if you write down a table number and like, hey, I have a Critical Role print, you can write Critical Role on your card, and then it makes it easier for the person to find you again. Some people don't like doing business cards because people lose them. It's wasteful to the environment. There's a lot of reasons people don't like using business cards. That's totally fine. Again, this is just something that has worked really, really well for me. I personally hang on to my business cards because I like to go through and follow people after conventions, and then I recycle them when I'm done. I also get a lot of people who will take a picture of your business card next to the art that they're interested in. I'm also fine with that, so that they remember like what they're actually thinking about. Again, this is personal preference, but every show that I have had business cards at, I have done significantly better than shows that I did not have business cards at, where I just was relying on people like taking a picture of my sign or my information or something like that. That being said, it is totally possible to run out of business cards during a con. That has happened to me multiple times. In that case, I basically just tape a card to my table with a sign that I ran out of cards, and people are welcome to take pictures of them. And that happens. It's just something you have to be prepared for. Do make grab bags to clear out old stock. This is another one of those things, kind of like tip jars. It's important to see if convention rules will allow for it. Some states consider something like a grab bag to be a form of gambling, which can be illegal depending on where you are. Some states will have specific rules for what a grab bag situation might look like. The ones I have seen will be like, you can do a mystery bag or a grab bag, but you have to show the examples of every item that could be in it. Check the rules for the convention or the event you're doing. Some will allow grab bags, some won't. Grab bags, mystery boxes, whatever form you want to use for them are excellent ways to clear out old stock that you're trying to get rid of. It's also been a useful tool if people are like, I really like all your stuff, I just don't know what I want. Well, I have grab bags. They have some old sticker designs or old prints or whatever. If you are a fan of my art and you don't know what you want, that's a good way to do it. I love doing grab bags. They're a great way to get rid of old stuff you're trying to sell or having trouble selling. The other display things I want to talk about are practice your display setup ahead of time. Don't try to set up your display for the first time when you get to the table to set up for the con. It can be super stressful, and inevitably you will have to change something that you didn't expect. It happens every show. Every show that I've done, I've had to change something about my display, even when I've practiced it. So you have to be prepared to make changes as necessary. You will know the width of your table ahead of time. You likely will not know the depth or the height, and those things can affect your display in ways that you may not have expected. You won't necessarily know how much space you have behind your table or on either side of your table, if you will be right up next to the tables on either side of you, if you will be against a wall, if you'll have people behind you. There's a lot of factors you can't prepare for. The best thing you can do for yourself is to practice your display ahead of time, whether that is on like a card table you have set up or on the floor of your living room. That's what I've done for years. Measure out how long your table will be, assemble your grids ahead of time, make sure you have enough room to set up, lay out your prints ahead of time for a print wall. Whatever your display entails, practice setting up each step of it at home before your convention, before your event, so that you're not stressed about it. That's one of the biggest things I will recommend, I think, in this entire video. If you take one thing away from me, practice your setup before you get there. Do have plenty of price signs. You will have an interesting experience tabling, because simultaneously you will experience no one will read your price signs, but also you need price signs on everything. These things can be simultaneously true. To me, it's really important that everything at my table is readable and accessible to people, because so many people will be too shy to ask how much something is. You will also experience having price signs and everything, and people will still ask how much something is. So some artists might get fed up with having to give the information over and over again. I am the kind of person who has been too anxious to ask someone how much something costs if I don't immediately see a price for it. So I want to avoid that same feeling for other people. I don't want to make people anxious at my table. I made a self-imposed rule that I want someone to be able to make a transaction at my table without having to say a word to me. Because again, talking is hard, and most people at conventions are very introverted. So I have price signs on everything at my table. I am vocal about letting people know to ask questions if they need any help from me. I have repetitive signs on things. I genuinely practice where I put my price signs so that they do not appear cluttered, because it's very easy to do, because price signs are kind of just another element of your display that you have to think about when you're setting up your table. I have made reusable laminated price signs so that I can reuse them show after show after show. Handwritten sticky notes are totally fine if that's what you have. They're better than nothing, in my opinion. Whether it is individual price signs or like a list of prices, it's kind of personal preference. I like doing individual prices just because of the way my table is laid out. I think it works a little bit better for my purposes. To me, it's just important that you have signage at your table to make things accessible to people. That's something I'm really passionate about. Another part of your display to keep in mind, do have vertical elements at your table. What I mean by that is don't just have stuff laying flat on your table because no one will see it walking by. You need to have things that stand up, that are attention grabbing, that are easy to see, that kind of thing. This doesn't necessarily have to be like a 12-foot tall giant cardboard cutout of a corgi like I have. Mostly I use those on my outdoor market displays because they're eye-grabbing. They're very attention-grabbing. Having vertical elements at your table are pretty much the only way you are going to get attention from passerby. I have a story about vertical displays, so let me talk about that. I was buying something from an artist at a convention at their table. Loved what they had a nice conversation with them, bought something. As I was leaving, after I'd finished my conversation, finished the transaction, bought my thing, they said, "Oh, before you go, make sure you check out my friend's table next to me." So I was like, okay, because I hadn't noticed anything. So I turned to the friend's table, went over to talk to them. They had no display set up, literally nothing. I don't even think they had a tablecloth. They just had a bare table with like their prints laid out flat. Like I don't think their business cards were even propped up. I think they had a stack of business cards flat on the table. And they clearly were miserable because they weren't selling anything. And here's the thing, their artwork was beautiful. It was stunning, but you couldn't see it if you were just walking by because it was flat on the table. It was below a person's eye line, whether they were sitting or standing. You couldn't see it. I felt so bad for this person because they were clearly this like incredibly talented artist who just had no experience tabling. They had no experience showcasing their artwork in a way for to make it easy for people to see and want to purchase it. And it just made me real sad for them because they clearly were a very skilled artist. They were very talented at what they were doing, but they had no guidance or awareness of having to have their artwork vertically in a way so that people could see it. So for that reason, do have vertical elements at your display. Whether that is just like a stand you have a book propped up on, or you have a photo stand with prints hanging from it, or you have a grid connected cube set up like what I do. Having something so that people can see your artwork without having to stand at your table and look down at it is so very helpful. It is so very helpful. That might be all my do's. Hopefully some of those do's are helpful for y'all. Let's get into the don'ts. Don't give away anything for free at your table, including your business card. Let me explain what I mean. This is another one of those weird psychology things that I've observed, that I've read about and also observed. When people come to your table and they're wanting something, the moment they get something, their transaction with you is done and they can leave and not return. So here's what I mean by that. A lot of people will have something like candy or free stickers or something like that at their table to like draw people in. But the problem is once people get that free sticker or free candy, they don't feel obligated to buy anything from you because they've already received something from you. I know that this can come across as really harsh. Pretty much everything on my don't list are things that I myself have done and learned to not do in the future, including giving things away for free, including your business cards. I'm not saying your business cards need to cost money. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is giving someone your business card should be the last part of your conversation with them. So what you don't want to do is immediately when someone walks up to your table say, "Hey, welcome, here's my card," because then they've gotten your card and for them the transaction is ended, the conversation is ended. A better way to do it for me has been to greet someone, have a conversation with them at my table. They might say, "I just got here, I'm kind of overwhelmed, I just want to look at everything before I buy stuff." I'll say, "Great, let me give you my card and write my table number down so you can find us again." And then once I give them the card, they're free to leave and the transaction is ended, the conversation is ended. I did a show where I was next to a nonprofit and they were a wonderful nonprofit. Their mission was wonderful. Everything at their table was free, which was totally fine. It was like free information for services that were incredibly valuable, incredibly important. So they had stickers, lanyards, candy, whatever they needed to have. But the person who was running the booth was so vocal and passionate about their services that they kept shouting that everything was free at their table. And the problem this caused was no one would shop at my table or any of the other neighboring tables who were all trying to sell things, but being next to this nonprofit that was advertising everything at their table was free was extremely detrimental to myself and all of the tables surrounding them. Because, well, why would I go buy a sticker for $5 if I can just get one at this table for free? That was the mentality that everyone had. That's another reason why I discourage you from giving anything for free away at your table. The one display thing I have under the don't category also kind of plays into a general idea of like being courteous to your neighbors. Don't have artwork facing into other table spaces, which includes the side of your table and the back of your table. You should only have artwork facing inward to your table. So if you have a side part of your display, you should only have artwork on the inside of your display as opposed to the outside, which would encroach on your neighbor's table space. This is something I fully have messed up on as a beginner artist because I didn't know any better. And I didn't have anyone explain it to me until I fully made a fool of myself. And to that, I apologize to the artists that I was next to. I am too self-conscious to say who it was. I don't think they even remember me, but I remember them, and I felt terrible about it afterwards. This is something that has been an unspoken rule at most conventions. And I think I want to give artists the benefit of the doubt for not knowing that they're doing something wrong, because I was in that boat. I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. And then I realized, and I was very embarrassed about it. Having stuff on like the back of your display facing into the space of the person behind you, or on the sides of your table into your neighbor's space, it's just rude. It's so important to be courteous to your neighbors because you're looking out for one another, and having your stuff in other people's space is just rude. No one likes it. Don't do it. If someone is doing it, if someone has their stuff encroaching into your space, my advice is to approach them kindly about it. Say, hey, could you please move this? It's in my space. If they're rude about it, go to someone on the con staff and say, hey, this person won't move their stuff even after I asked, and they will handle it for you. If they don't handle it for you, make a fucking stink about it. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. This is a hard one because when you're introverted, it's really hard to speak up for yourself. You have to. At conventions, if something is wrong, you have to go find someone to help you. If you need help at a convention, you cannot be afraid to go ask for it. I am fortunate enough that I am a white cis-passing guy. I have been someone people have come to for help, and I have been able to help my friends with that privilege I have. I have not always been a cis-passing dude, and I dealt with a lot of weird people because of that. But fortunately, I don't get much of that anymore, and I'm very grateful for that privilege. That being said, if you need help, go get help. Convention staff is there for a reason. Convention ops are there for a reason. Convention security is there for a reason. If you have a customer at your table, the good news is, at conventions, the customer is not always right. And if someone is being an asshole to you, you don't have to deal with it. You are not working a retail job in the sense that you don't have to report to a boss. You are the boss of your own table. It is your space. And if you don't like someone's behavior at your table, you don't have to tolerate that. You can ask them to leave. You can say, I need you to leave now. If someone is being rude and doesn't want to leave, there are a lot of ways you can handle it. This is another reason why it's great to have a helper at your table. It's great to make friends with your neighbors. Have a community around you that you can get help from people. I also have a friend who, if someone's being rude at them or not letting them leave for a bathroom break or something like that, they will fully just walk away from their table and just ignore the person. I'm not brave enough to do that. But I have told people to leave my table. I have told people to stop what they're doing at my table and to leave. And I'm grateful I have the skills to do that. Don't ignore people at your table. This is in line with just learning to be social at your table, learning to greet people at your table. There are a lot of older people who have done conventions and complain that they can't just sit at their table anymore to make money. That's not how conventions work, my guy. I don't know that they've ever actually worked that way. It's important to be social and engaging at your table. If you are not naturally extroverted, it can take a lot of practice. Ask a trusted friend to help you practice and have them walk up to your table and be like, oh, look at all this cool artwork or whatever. And you can say, hey, how's it going? I'm so-and-so. This is my art. Let me know what you think, etc. Don't yell at people from far away. And also, don't poach customers from another table. One thing that I have struggled with is knowing how close someone should be to my table before I talk to them. And I still struggle with it. It's something that comes with practice, and depending on the layout of the tables in the artist alley, in the event space you're doing, different distances might be more appropriate than others. It really depends. Use your best judgment. Ideally, you'll kind of be able to feel out how far someone can be when you're talking to them. I'm saying don't yell at people from far away because it makes me crazy when people do that. I hate when people will see someone really far down the aisle of their table that they're at and shout at them like, hey, do you like free comic books or whatever? This is similar to the don't poach customers from another table. I just did a show where the guy across from me was yelling at every person on our aisle to come look at his table, including people that were literally standing in front of my table looking at my art. He would go, hey guys, over here. Hey, turn around, over here. And it drove me crazy. I genuinely don't think he was trying to be malicious, which is hard to believe. It's kind of hard to say that even, but I think he just didn't know how to attract people to his table. I don't know. It was really weird. If people are walking along a line of tables, they'll get to you eventually. And if they're not interested in your stuff and pass you by, it's not the end of the world. It's fine. I have debated if I wanted to say anything about standing versus sitting at your table because my opinions have changed on it drastically. Here's what I want to say. Do whatever feels comfortable for your table and for your body. If you need to sit, then sit. If you need to stand, then stand. There are people who are very passionate that you must stand at your table to look active and engaged. And for a long time, I strongly disagreed with this. The reason being, specifically, I did not like the people who stood at their table and would yell at you from far away. I have since realized my problem wasn't with the standing, it was with the yelling at you from far away. But the standing part of it added this element that was intimidating to me for some reason. And so I would be immediately put off by someone who was standing at their table, whether or not they were yelling at me. So I used to say that I did not like when people stood at their tables and that I only preferred when people sat at their tables. So I would try to sit at my table to seem more approachable, which is kind of backwards of how a lot of people say it is. They think that being standing makes you more approachable. I think it's personal preference. I have been standing at my table more and more because I have been doing outdoor events, and for my setup, it's a little bit more practical for me to stand. If you do choose to stand at your table, I recommend getting an anti-fatigue mat of some kind because it will save your body. Similarly, if you want to sit at your table and you have the means to get some kind of anti-fatigue like butt pillow, I also recommend that. It has saved me a lot of stress and pain on my body as I am in my 30s and falling apart rapidly. Don't let a million people behind your table. Some conventions genuinely have rules against this. It can be a fire hazard if there's too many people behind a table. Most conventions don't have a lot of room for people behind a table. There are some shows that only allow you to buy one badge per table that you are showing at. Some shows will allow you to buy a second badge. Most shows will have a cap of how many vendor, exhibitor, artist type badges are allowed behind a table at any given time because there just isn't enough room for that many people behind a table. In my experience, I have also been really annoyed with people who will let all of their friends behind their table. To me, it's different. If you have a friend come and watch your table while you go to the bathroom, I don't think that's a big deal at all. Especially if your table already has 2 chairs behind it. Having a second person to fill up that chair, that's kind of the point. There's space. There's the reason the chair is there. The problem comes when you have 5 people behind your table just to visit and be loud and keep you company, because inevitably they will spill into your neighbor's space on either side of you. Just stay out of your neighbor's space. With your stuff, with your friends, keep your stuff limited to your space. Similar to sort of keeping your stuff contained within your available table space, Don't play music or have strong scents at your table. A lot of conventions already have rules against these things. It will also make everyone crazy around you. Conventions are overstimulating, and it's just a courtesy to everyone to not do either of those things at your table. The strong scent one I included specifically because there's an artist who is a lovely person. They're very talented. They have very good art. They're a very nice human being. They have a product that they sell that they have made scented that is not normally scented. It's kind of the equivalent of like a scratch and sniff sticker. It's not stickers. I don't want to get specific as to what they sell. I did a show once where I was next to this person or behind them, or I can't quite remember. I think a lot of neurodivergent people are sensitive to smells. I am very sensitive to smells. And because this scent was so pungent, I had a headache from it and I had to move tables. And that's no fun. I think I could talk about artist alley tabling forever because, again, I've done it for over a decade. Anyway, yeah, those are all the do's and don'ts that I've written out for this video. I would love to make more videos talking about doing artist alley tables and vending and exhibitor spaces, outdoor markets, that kind of thing. Please let me know if you have any questions, if there's anything specific you would like advice about regarding tabling and that kind of thing. And hopefully I can make more videos like this in the future. I wanted to say thank you all. I'm really bad at this. I'm really bad at being grateful for things. I get very shy about it. I want to say thank you to everyone for giving so much love to my last video. The rock painting video has been doing really well, and it helps me out a lot to see everyone commenting and subscribing and all that good stuff. It helps me out, it makes me feel good, and I really appreciate it. So thank you all so much for that support. If you want to stick around and subscribe, I am trying to upload every other Friday. If you want to purchase my art, I have an Etsy shop, elibenik.etsy.com. That is where I sell my artwork, and you can get stickers and prints and goodies and stuff from there. And you'll be supporting me as well if you want to do that. So thank you. I need to go eat some lunch because I'm hungry. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.